Welcome to User Access Controls. Learn to manage who can access your SAP BTP environment. This means you control which users can enter your SAP BTP account and what they are allowed to do once inside. For instance, you could grant a developer permission to build applications but restrict them from viewing financial data. Proper access control is essential for maintaining a secure and organized cloud platform. Create user accounts and assign appropriate permissions. This means setting up individual logins for your team and giving each person access only to the tools and data they need for their job. For example, an accountant gets access to financial apps but not to HR hiring systems. This ensures everyone can work effectively while protecting sensitive company information. Ensure users only have access to what they need for their work. This means granting permissions strictly based on job roles, preventing unnecessary data exposure. For example, a salesperson can view customer records but cannot access financial reports. This principle of least privilege is essential for maintaining security and compliance in your SAP BTP applications. Hands-on practice in a safe demo environment. This means you can explore SAP BTP access controls freely without affecting live production systems. For example, try assigning roles to test users and see how permissions change. This builds confidence through direct experience before applying skills in real projects. Why user access controls are critical for enterprise security. Prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data. This means only approved people can view or use confidential information. For example, in a hospital, only doctors treating a patient should access their medical records, not all staff. Ensuring this protects both the organization and individuals from data breaches and misuse. Ensure users can only perform their required tasks. This means giving each person just the permissions they need for their job, nothing more. For example, an HR assistant can update employee details but cannot approve company-wide budgets. This approach minimizes risk and maintains operational integrity by strictly limiting system access to essential functions only. Maintain security and compliance standards. This means ensuring only authorized users can access specific data and functions following legal and company rules. For example, in HR systems, only payroll staff should view salary details to protect employee privacy. Proper controls prevent unauthorized access and help avoid costly violations. Reduce risk of accidental system changes. This means preventing unintended modifications by users who may not have the proper training or context. For instance, a new developer could accidentally delete a critical development object if permissions are too broad. Proper access controls ensure only authorized actions can be performed, safeguarding your system integrity. Understanding BTP user accounts. User accounts identify individuals in your BTE environment. This means each person gets a unique login to access and manage BTE services. For example, a developer uses their account to deploy applications, while an admin uses theirs to assign permissions. This ensures every action is traceable to the right person, maintaining security and accountability in your cloud landscape. Each user needs unique login credentials. This means every person gets their own username and password to access BTP services securely. For example, in a company, Sarah logs in with Sarah at company.com while Tom uses Tom at company.com. They cannot share or swap accounts. This ensures individual accountability and protects your organization's data and applications. Accounts can be created for employees or external partners. This means BTP access isn't just for company staff. You can also grant secure entry to outside collaborators. For instance, a freelance developer helping on a project would get their own account. This flexibility supports diverse and extended business teams. Users start with no permissions until roles are assigned. This means every new user account is locked down by default for security. For instance, a new employee cannot access any BTP services until an administrator grants them specific roles. This ensures only authorized personnel can perform actions, maintaining a secure environment. Role collections group authorizations for business users. Role collections group related permissions together. This means you bundle access rights needed for specific tasks into a single, manageable unit. For example, all permissions for a support team to monitor applications can be grouped into one support role collection. This simplifies user access management significantly. Think of them as job function templates. They bundle the specific authorizations needed for a role, like permissions to view reports or approve purchases. For instance, a financial analyst role collection would grant access to budgeting tools and transaction data. This simplifies assigning standardized access across your organization efficiently. Examples: developer, viewer, administrator. These are predefined sets of permissions for different job functions. For instance, a developer role allows creating applications, while a viewer can only read data. This ensures users have appropriate access to perform their duties without unnecessary privileges. Proper role assignment is essential for maintaining security and efficiency in your SAP BTP environment. Assign collections instead of individual permissions. This means you group related access rights into a single bundle for easier management. For instance, instead of separately assigning permissions to view, create, and edit sales reports, you assign one sales analyst collection containing all three. This approach simplifies user access control and reduces administrative effort significantly. Locate user management in the SAP BTP cockpit. Log into your BTP cockpit. This means accessing the main web interface where you manage your BTP account and services. For example, you would open a web browser and navigate to your specific BTP URL, then enter your company credentials. This secure login is your first step to managing users and access across your cloud applications. Navigate to your global account. This means accessing the top-level container in BTP where your organization's resources and subscriptions are managed. For example, if your company is Cloud Corp, you select the Cloud Corp global account to oversee all projects. This initial step centralizes control for efficient administration. Click on Security in the left menu. This opens the security area where you control user access and roles. For example, if you need to add a new team member, you start here to assign them the right permissions. This is your first step to managing who can use your applications and services securely. Select Users to see user management options. This means clicking the Users section reveals all tools for managing people in your account. For example, when a new employee joins, you'd click here to assign them access to apps. This is your central place for controlling who can use your BTP services. Creating your first user in the system. In Users section, click Create User. This opens the form to add new team members to your SAP BTP account. For instance, when a new developer joins your project, you would use this to grant them access. This straightforward step initiates the entire user setup process. Enter user's email address as their ID. This means using their existing email as their unique identifier in SAP BTP. For example, when creating an account for a new developer, you would use alex.jones@company.com as their login ID. This approach simplifies user management by leveraging a familiar and unique identifier everyone already has. Add optional first and last name. This means you can provide additional personal details beyond the basic username. For instance, when creating a user for John Smith, you could enter John and Smith here for clarity. Including these details helps personalize the user account and improves identification within the system. Click Create to add the user. This means you are initiating the process to register a new person in the system. For instance, when a new employee joins your company, you would perform this action to grant them access. This simple step is fundamental for managing who can use your SAP BTP applications and services. Assigning role collections to users and groups. Select the user you want to modify. This means choosing the specific person from your user list whose access you wish to change. For example, if Maria needs access to view sales reports, you would first pick her user account. This step ensures you are granting permissions to the correct individual. Click Assign Role Collection. This action links a set of predefined permissions to a specific user or group. For example, to grant a developer access to build applications, you would assign them the developer role collection. This single step effectively grants all the necessary authorizations for their tasks. Choose appropriate collection from the list. This means selecting the exact set of permissions a user needs for their job. For example, assign the Business Application Studio Developer collection to a developer so they can build applications. This precise selection ensures users have necessary access without extra privileges. Save your changes. This confirms and applies the role collection assignments you have made in the SAP BTP cockpit. For instance, after assigning the viewer role to a colleague, you must save to activate their access permissions. This finalizes the setup and ensures your configurations are securely stored. Essential role collections for enterprise environments. Subaccount Administrator, full subaccount access. This means they can manage everything within their assigned subaccount, including services and user permissions. For example, they can add new developers to the subaccount and assign them the necessary tools. This role is essential for maintaining control and security over your specific project environment. Subaccount Service Administrator, Service Management. This role allows managing services within a specific subaccount, like enabling or configuring them. For instance, enabling the SAP HANA service for a new application. This ensures you have the necessary control to deploy and operate services effectively. Sub-account viewer read-only access. This role allows you to see all the resources and configurations within a sub-account but prevents you from making any changes. For instance, an auditor can review application deployments and service bindings without the risk of accidental modification. This ensures secure oversight of your cloud landscape. Space Developer Application Development Permissions. This allows creating and modifying apps within a designated space in your BTP account. For instance, a developer uses this role to build a new employee onboarding application. This permission is fundamental for any development work in a project space. Testing user access for security and compliance. Log out of your admin account. This means securely ending your administrative session to prevent unauthorized access. For example, after setting up a colleague's permissions, log out so they can test their access safely. Always log out to protect sensitive system configurations. Log in as the new test user. This means using the newly created user account credentials to sign into the system. For example, after creating a user tester_a, you would open the login page and enter their username and password. This action confirms the account is active and permissions are correctly assigned, verifying everything works as intended for that user. Verify they can access permitted areas. This means confirming users can only open the systems or data they are officially allowed to use. For example, a salesperson should access the CRM system but not the payroll application. This check ensures security policies are correctly enforced and prevents unauthorized access. Confirm they cannot access restricted areas. This means verifying users are blocked from private data or functions. For example, after granting a salesperson access to customer records, ensure they cannot view confidential HR salary details. This validation step is essential for maintaining proper security controls in your SAP BTP applications. User Management Best Practices for Enterprise Applications. Assign minimum permissions needed. This means giving users only the access essential for their specific tasks, nothing more. For example, a developer should get permissions to deploy apps but not to manage user accounts. This reduces security risks and prevents accidental changes, keeping your environment secure and stable. Use role collections for consistency. This means grouping similar access rights into predefined bundles instead of assigning individual permissions. For example, create a finance analyst role collection with all necessary app and data access for that team. This ensures uniform access control and simplifies user management across your landscape. Regularly review user access. This means periodically checking that users only have permissions they currently need for their roles. For example, if an employee moves from sales to finance, their old sales system access should be removed. This proactive control is fundamental for maintaining a secure and compliant environment. Remove access for users who no longer need it. This means promptly revoking system permissions when employees change roles or leave the company. For instance, when a developer switches teams, their old project access should be removed. This simple action is a cornerstone of maintaining a secure and compliant cloud environment. Troubleshooting access issues. Check if user has correct role collections. This means verifying the user's assigned permissions match what's needed for the application. For example, a user unable to view sales reports might lack the sales analyst role collection. Always confirm role assignments to resolve access problems effectively. Verify user is in correct sub-account. This means confirming the user's assigned environment matches where the app or service runs. For instance, if a developer can't deploy an app, check they are in the development sub-account, not production. Always start your access troubleshooting with this fundamental step. Confirm role collections are properly configured. This means checking that user permissions in SAP BTP are correctly assigned. For example, if a developer cannot deploy an app, verify they have the necessary role collection like developer attached. Proper role setup ensures users can access the tools they need. Test with different user accounts if needed. This means checking if the problem is specific to one user or affects others. For example, if a developer cannot access a service, have a colleague try with their account. This helps determine if it is a user-specific issue or a broader system problem. Isolating the cause is the first step to resolution. Practice exercise, set up team access. Create 3 test user accounts. This means setting up temporary user profiles in your system to safely practice without affecting real data. For example, simulate a scenario where HR, finance, and IT team members need separate access for a new project. This ensures your team can train effectively and securely. Assign viewer role to one user. This means granting someone permission to see but not change SAP BTP resources. For example, a new team member who needs to monitor application health can be given this role to view dashboards and logs without making modifications. This ensures they can observe the system safely. Assign developer role to another. This means granting someone permission to build and modify applications on SAP BTP. For instance, if a new team member joins your project, you would give them this role so they can start coding immediately. This ensures your team can collaborate effectively on development tasks. Test that each has appropriate access. This means verifying every team member can only reach the systems and data they need for their role. For example, after granting permissions, have a developer try accessing only their assigned development environment, not production systems. This confirms your security setup is correct and functional. Today we covered key learnings and takeaways. How to create and manage BTP user accounts. This means you can securely set up new users, assign roles, and control their access to BTP services. For example, when a new developer joins your team, you can create their account and grant them access to specific development tools. Mastering this ensures your team has the right permissions to work efficiently and safely. Assigning role collections to users. This means grouping permissions and giving them to people in your organization. For example, a finance team member gets roles for viewing reports but not modifying system settings. This ensures users have exactly the access they need to perform their jobs securely and effectively. Configuring basic access controls. This means setting up rules for who can view or edit specific data and applications in SAP BTP. For example, you can grant sales representatives access only to customer data while restricting financial records. Properly configuring these controls is a fundamental step to securing your business platform. Testing and verifying user permissions. This means confirming that users can only access the specific data and functions they are authorized to use. For example, a salesperson should see customer orders but not payroll information. This process is essential for maintaining security and compliance in your applications. Next steps in your business technology platform journey. Practice user management in your own environment. This means setting up who can access your BTP account and what they are allowed to do. For example, you could add a new developer to your team and grant them permission to only view, not change, specific applications. Mastering these controls is fundamental for maintaining a secure and organized cloud platform. Explore creating custom role collections. This means grouping specific permissions to control what users can access in your applications. For example, a finance auditor collection could grant read-only access to financial reports without editing rights. Tailoring these ensures users have precisely the access they need for their roles. Learn about group-based access management. This means assigning permissions to user groups instead of individuals, making it easier to control who can access what. For example, you could create a finance team group with access to financial reports. This approach streamlines security and saves significant administrative effort. Join SAP community for additional support. This connects you to fellow developers and experts for guidance. For instance, if you encounter an error in your app, you can post your question and receive solutions from experienced members. Leveraging this network will significantly accelerate your learning and problem solving.